In this session, I'm going to take you through the setup and use of crews. Crews is a type of resource in field service that is comprised of other resources like users, equipment, contacts, or accounts. We're going to step through setting up the crew record and capturing the basic information on that record. Then we'll add the resources to the crew, and here of specific interest is the time or duration that the resource spends as a member of the crew. Then we'll look at how you go about booking a work order for the crew. Lastly, we'll have a look at the resource requirement record and how you can specify on that record that a crew needs to be booked to complete the work. The session is focused on the setup of a crew resource, but it is also a good revision of how to set up resources in general in field service. Setting up a crew record entails capturing the name of the crew, selecting a time zone, and a crew strategy, which determines how the changes to a crew booking is passed through to the members of the crew. Then you need to assign skills to the crew, add it to a territory or add the territory to the crew, associate the crew with the organizational unit for scheduling purposes, and ensure that the correct work calendar is assigned to the crew. In the sample scenario, I will set up a team responsible for the maintenance on industrial dishwashers. Team members need electrical and plumbing skills to be able to complete the job done, and in this case, each team member is a specialist in either electrical or plumbing work. So at minimum, we need 2 members in the crew. Of course, we also add a piece of equipment to complete the crew, and here we are going to add a pressure test pump. To set up a crew record, we go to the resource area of the sitemap and we click on resources. Of course, I'm assuming a fairly default layout on the sitemap. It might be possible that your sitemap is edited and you'll find resources in a different area on the sitemap. But for now, this is the navigation that we use. Then in resources, I'm going to click on new at the top here in the command bar. For the resource type, of course, here we go and select crew. We'll have a look at the other type of resources during the upcoming sessions. I need to give that a name. So I've just given the crew a descriptive name. The time zone, I'm going to leave here at GMT +2. That's where I'm at. So I might just change that to Harare, Pretoria. Crew management, optimal size, I'm going to say 3 there. And then my crew strategy for now, I'm going to leave at crew leader management. It simply means that any changes in the booking will be propagated from the leader of the crew's updates on the work order. Crew member self-management means that each member, after receiving their booking, will be able to make the changes as they deem fit, and it will be independent of all the other members. And then cascade and accept cascade will simply propagate any changes on the booking to all the members. So we stick to crew leader management. At this point, I've got all the basic information, and all that I need to do here is click on save. Now on the right hand side, you'll see here I've got my resource characteristics and resource categories that come in. So here I'm going to add the skills required by this team. The skills assigned here to the crew will be used to filter out the correct crew, because those same skills are defined on the incident record associated to the work order. So here we're going to click on bookable resource characteristic. We're going to select the skill, and of course this is dishwasher technician electronics. And rating value I'm going to leave for now, although you can indicate the level of proficiency that crew or a resource requires. I'm just going to click here at the bottom on the split button and select save and create new, because I do also want to add the other skill, my dishwasher technician plumbing skill as well, and then I can click on save and close. Now the reason why I'm including both of the skills here is because on the work orders my incident type specifies the requirement that we have both of these skills. For the resource category or role here, I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to click on new bookable resource category. And in this case, I'm going to add the dishwasher technician. So click on the right hand side there. I've got dishwasher technician. I'm just going to add that as the title as well. I'm using the values saved in the browser history to populate the fields here. So normally I would have to type that in. Just going to click on save and close. So now I've got my category and I've got my characteristics or skills added. The category is not so important, although I can also use that on the schedule board to filter the resources. That's going to be a lot more helpful when we look at resource requirement groups. Now we go to the scheduling tab. On the scheduling tab, I want to associate the crew with a organizational unit. So here in the start location, I'm going to select organizational unit address, and then in the end location, the same there. In the organizational unit, I'm going to select that Centricom head office that we set up in the section called Setting Up Organizational Units and Territories. So that's from a previous session. At this point, once again, I'm going to click on Save. On field service, I can go and specify hourly rate, and if time approval is required. On work hours, we'll handle the assignment of the calendar in a moment. And then on omnichannel, that's just a repeat of the skills that have been allocated to this crew. Now, to allocate the work hours, what we need to do is go back to resources, select our new crew that we've set up here. And this process applies to any resource that I want to apply work hours to. So I've selected that crew. Then up at the top here in the command bar, I click on Set Calendar. Here I select the calendar that I want to apply. In this case, I've got the SA work week. I have set up the work hour template already, and you do that by setting up a resource and then using that resource in the work hour template. Now I click on apply, and what that will then do is to use the work hour templates to update the calendar and the working hours for that crew. So if I return to the crew here and I go and click on work hours, you'll see that the work hours have been updated to our GMT plus 2 time, and the work hours are 8 to 5 each day, weekdays. As far as the basic setup is concerned, we are complete. So next up, we're going to add the resources to the crew. In this section, we are going to look at how to add members to the crew. We'll start off by setting up the equipment resource. Then we'll add the members to the crew and make sure that we select the leader. Thereafter, we're going to set the membership duration for each one of the members, ensuring that they are exactly the same. And lastly, we'll have a quick look at a new allocation method that's been added to field service recently. So like we said, we start off by adding the equipment, the pressure pump that we need to use for the dishwasher maintenance. So I'm in field service. I've switched to the resources section of the sitemap. I've selected resources here on the left hand side, and in active bookable resources, I'm going to click on new at the top. Then for my resource type, I'm going to select equipment from the list there, and then I need to go and select the facility or equipment that I want to add here. Now I don't have it yet, so what I'm going to do here is to click on new facility. After I've clicked on the lookup, I click on new facility equipment here. So in the new facility equipment record, I capture a name for that piece of equipment. I go and select the business unit. I only have one business unit here, my main business unit, so I'm going to select that. I select the organizational unit. In this case, we're going to select that Centricom that we've been using up until now. Primary email here is not applicable because we're setting up equipment rather than a facility, although certain equipment might have a email associated to it. The time zone I'm going to select as my +2 time zone once again, just to make sure that all of the resources are available at the same time. And then I've typed in a description. So at this point, I simply click on Save and Close. Back in my new bookable resource, I go and select equipment again. This time around, when I click on the lookup for the specific piece of equipment, I do have my pressure pump there. The name is added, the time zone is added, and I can go ahead and click on save. Now, my form does not load with a save button here, so I'm just going to use Control S to save that record. As the setup requires for other resources, I need to go and add characteristics here. So I'm going to click on the More button here, select New Bookable Resource Characteristic, and I'm going to select the the dishwasher electronics, add that, and I'm going to use the split button once again, and then also add the plumbing one here. So I've got that added. I'm not going to assign a resource category as the equipment is not subject to that. On the scheduling tab, we do need to make sure that once again we are scheduling from the organizational unit address, just so we make sure that we've got that set up. Although equipment could be location agnostic, simply because it might be software, or it might be remote testing equipment that you can use. In this case, because it's a physical piece of equipment, we're going to schedule from the organizational unit address. The My Organization unit, we've already selected that, so that's fine. As far as the field service tab is concerned, I can set up an hourly rate once again. We'll look at that at a later session. The work hours here for equipment is less important, but I am going to allocate the work hours via our work hour template as we did previously. And then, as you know, on Omnichannel, that is simply the 2 skill sets that we have there. At this point, I'm going to click on Save and Close. So we've got that record captured. Then I'm going to select the pressure pump as we did earlier. I'm going to click on Set Calendar, and I'm going to select the same calendar as what we used for our other resources there, the SA work week, and click on Apply. Now our work hours is applied. So that's that piece of equipment set up. Now we're going to go to the dishwasher maintenance crew. We are going to click on Related, and here on the Related menu, we want to go to Resources Children to allow us to add the members to that crew. So here in the Bookable Resource Group Associated view, we're going to click on New Bookable Resource Group. I'm going to select the children here first. Now what I've done is I've made sure that all of my resources are in the same territory and are assigned from the same organizational unit, just so we have that in place. And I'll explain that later, because you can set up a radius for the scheduling assistant to find the resources in the correct proximity. So for my example here, it's important that I take away all the stumbling blocks for this crew to be scheduled. So I'm really doing it as simple as possible, making sure that everybody is available for the jobs. So I'm going to select Johan van Dijk here as a user resource, and of course that's going to be Johan as the name. From date, I'm going to work on next week. So in this case, my next week is May the 12th. So I'm going to select May the 12th. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm happy with that. And I'm going to select the end date as May the 16th. And important here, I'm going to set the end time to 5 o'clock. So 8 to 5 is also the duration of the days that I've set up. My crew member type here, I'm going to select Johan here as the leader. You'll see the other options that I have as member or none. So we're going to go with leader here. So once I'm done there, I'm going to click on Save and Close. And I'm going to repeat exactly the same process for the other resources. Now, I do get a message here that Johan van Dijk is already assigned to a group. So crew membership is exclusive. So I can only belong to one crew for a specific duration at a time. So in this case, I'm going to update my date. So I'm going to select here to make sure the 26th to the 30th. And click on Save and Close. There we go. I'm quickly going to add the other resources as well. Here I've added the next resource, Ruan. You'll see that my dates are the same, 26th to the 30th. I just want to fix that. Bit of oversight there on the ending time. And then Ruan here is a member of the crew. If I try to make Ruan a leader as well and click on save, you'll see that there can only be one leader at a time. So just going to set that to member. There we go. And click on Save and Close, and I'll quickly go and add that equipment as well. So new bookable resource, I'll go and select that pressure pump. There we go, that's set up, same duration for the pressure pump. And then in this case, you'll see that as soon as the resource type is not a user, the only option there is member. So contacts, accounts, and that type of thing, those are added as members. Okay, click on save and close, and I've got that done and dusted. So that's my members there. While we're talking about territories, I just want to go make sure that we did in fact add territories to the dishwasher maintenance crew. But we did not do that, so I'm going to select the resource territory here. And if you remember in the previous session when we set up territories there, we added West. There we go. Cool. So we've got our territory assigned as well. That's of course important because the crew also needs to be related to the territory in order to be selected for the job. Right, so we can click on save and close. We did apply the work hours in the previous section of this session that we're going through. So that's just selecting it, clicking on set calendar. So we've done that. I've just done a quick check here on the pressure pump. When we set up that pressure pump, I did not assign the resource territory. So of course on that record, I just went down to the resource territories, selected new resource territory, and I assigned West. So on setting up crews, you need to make sure that all the resources belong to the same territory. All the resources have the same skills. So here on Omnichannel, just making sure that they've got the same skills. And then very important in the crew itself, you want to make sure that that set of resources are assigned to the crew at the same time. So these times here, you want to make sure that those are identical for all the crew members. Otherwise, your crew is not going to be displayed as an option for booking a work order against the crew. Now, once we've set up the crew, on the dashboard, the crew is of course added as a resource here on the left-hand side. So you'll see at the moment the crew resource here displays 0 resources, but we know that we added some resources to that crew. So what we need to do is to navigate to the week in which the resources are assigned. So the moment that I navigate through to the week of the 26th of May, you'll see that it now indicates that there's 3 resources. So if I scroll down, you'll see Johan, the pressure pump, and Ruan all have gray bands in the schedule board. If I scroll across, quite a far way, but if I scroll across, you'll see that it indicates there that this is part of that particular crew. So in order to see the crew resources, you need to be in the week that or on the date that those resources are assigned. So if I go to that maintenance crew and I right click on the maintenance crew and I select view group members, it'll show me the members of that group. So that's my dishwasher maintenance for the week that I booked them, and those are the guys and the equipment that's assigned to that group. Now, let's have a quick look. We said that there's a new way to do this assignment. It's quite elaborate to set it up in the crew resource itself. But if we go through to resources, you will notice that there is a crew allocation button here at the top of the resources view. So when I click on the crew allocations there, you'll see that I have the crews available here. And below that, I've got my bookable resources. To assign a resource to a crew, I simply click the resource, drag it into that crew record. Now, of course, the assignment is done for that specific day that's selected. So that's, in my case, today, the 8th of May. So it'll be assigned, this resource will then be assigned to that. So if I go and grab Ruan, drag Ruan up here, and then the pressure pump, I can click on the More button on the right hand side, click on Assign to Crew. I can select the crew here and click on Apply. And there we go. I've got my resources assigned. If I need to remove a resource, of course, I go and click on the More button and I click on Remove. Now, once I've done the assignment, I then click on Save at the top. It saves the resources there as part of that crew. And when I click through to the schedule board and I go and refresh the schedule board there, you'll see for today, 8th of May, my dishwasher maintenance crew's got 3 resources booked, and when I scroll down, scroll to the left a little bit here, you'll notice that those 3 resources, I'm at the end of my day at the moment, but those 3 resources will be indicated that they are part of this crew. So a new way of assigning those resources, I simply go through to resources here. I go and click on crew allocation at the top. It'll give me the crews. It'll allow me to select the date on which I want to make the assignment, and I can simply click and drag the resources into that that crew box there. Of course, I can also go and click on the more button, click on assign to crew as we saw earlier, and then just select the crew that I want to assign to. In this session, we are going to look at capturing the work order record, editing the resource requirement record to allow it to only book crews on the work order, step through the process of booking the work order for the crew, and then exploring the changes that the crew leader makes to the booking and how that impacts the bookings for the rest of the crew members. I'm in field service. I'm on the service area of the sitemap. I've clicked on work orders and I've started a new work order. On that work order, I've selected the service account. I've selected the incident type, and of course that populated the work order type for me. And to ensure that this work order falls in the time where we've got resources associated to the crew, I've set the promised window to fall between the 29th and 30th of May, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning and ending at 3 in the afternoon. Also, the time window I've set up to fall between 10 and 3, so 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. That's just simply to ensure that this work order will be scheduled in the time when the crew is available. Now at this point I've got everything that I need, so I'm just going to click on save at the top. That sets up the work order, and then when I scroll down here to the requirements section, if I click on find availability, I should find all of the resources that's available in that week of May. And there we go. Now, because my work order does not specifically indicate that it requires a crew to get the work done, you'll see that Johan, Rohan, Bob, the pressure pump, the crew, and a whole bunch of resources are recommended for this time period. What is noteworthy is the fact that the start and end times are restricted to the 29th and 30th of May. So at the moment, I'm not going to select the crew from the suggested resources here. I'm just going to go back, save and close my work order, and then I want to show you that a resource requirement record was created. So for work order 53, if I open that up, there is a associated resource requirement record. So this contains all of the specifications for the type of resource that should be assigned to this work. And you'll see there the skills are listed. That of course comes from the incident type. And if I go through to scheduling here, it will have all my time from and to promised information. So it restricts when that work order can be booked. Now, what we're going to do here on the general tab is we're going to go to the resource type, and we're going to say this work needs to be done by a crew. So I'm going to indicate a crew there, and that will then dictate that when a resource is found, it should be a crew type resource. So I'm just going to click on save and close. Right, now, having done that, we go back to work orders. I'll go and open up my work order again, work order number 54, and I'm going to click on book here. I'm using the book button to allow the schedule assistant to pick the resources in given all the filters that apply to the work order, rather than click and drag the work order onto the schedule board. So you'll see there's my 2 options to book the crew. So all of the requirements have been met. Available duration 2.5 hours. It's within the 500 kilometer radius. There's my start and end dates for the 29th to the 30th, and it finds the resource. So I'm going to select option number 1 here, the dishwasher maintenance crew. Select that, and then on the right hand side I'm going to click on book. Okay, so it indicates the booking was created. I'm going to close that. On my work order, if I just go and refresh the work order, you'll see that work order now indicates that it's been scheduled. So if we go through to the schedule board, on the schedule board, if we go to the week of the 27th or 26th rather, and I scroll through to the, I should actually just go to the 29th. There we go. So go through to the 29th. There's my booking for work order number 53 for the dishwasher maintenance crew. And if I scroll down, you'll see that individual bookings have been made for Johan, the pressure pump, and Ruan. So, of course, if I go back to the service area and I go to bookings here, you will notice that I have, for that work order, the maintenance crew, Johan, Ruan, and the pressure pump. So all of these bookings have individually been made. So if I book a crew, a single work order is associated to a booking record for each one of the resources in that crew. If I go to my resource requirement records, you'll see that I do not have work order number 54 there as a resource requirement, because I do not have a single resource booked, but I've got a group booked. So if I go to resource requirement group, you'll see that my requirement group number 54 is listed here. So if I open that record, that'll give me the information with regards to that booking. And on that, I've got my 2 resources booked here. So you'll see the requirement there was for those 2 sets of skills that needed to be booked. Okay, we'll come back in a different session and we'll come look at how you would set up requirement groups to automatically select the members for a team to go and get work done. Okay, so lastly, on the mobile app, we're now looking at the bookings that were made for Johan. Johan, of course, being the leader of the crew. You'll see, if I scroll down here to the 29th or 30th, there we go. On the 29th, there is my booking for the dishwasher maintenance. So if I just have a look at the schedule board here. So that's Johan there. This is the mobile app. So if I open up the booking there, and as the leader, I go and indicate that I can actually not arrive at 8 o'clock. We are only going to be there at 9:30. So we set that up for 9:30. And I then go and click on save. That will save the record. And then if I go and refresh the schedule board here, you'll see that we scheduled to start at 7 there, and because of the update from the team leader, the work order is now moved ahead to 9:30 to start at 9:30. So you'll see that change from the crew leader then affects all of the bookings. What we can also do here, just for interest sake, is let's say the crew leader decides that they cannot handle this one and they go and cancel the booking. So say set the booking status to cancelled, click on save there. The booking is saved. It says there that the booking has been cancelled, but the work order is still there. It's just now unscheduled. So once again, if we go and refresh the schedule board here, you'll see that that has been cancelled. And if I go through to my work orders, you'll see that booking number 54 is now unscheduled. Crews have members or resource children. Members can be users, contacts, or equipment. Only users can be crew leaders. Members belong to the crew for a set period of time. Members cannot belong to more than one crew at the same time. Crews need to be assigned territories, skills, organization units, calendars, and work hours. And all of the members in the crew needs to have the same organizational unit and territory assigned to them. A resource requirement record is created when the work order is saved. The resource requirement record can be edited to allow only crews to be booked on the work order. Once a work order is booked, a requirement group record is added for the booking. A booking record is added for each member of the crew. If the crew strategy is crew leader management, any changes made by the leader is passed on to the other bookings in the crew.